You're selling t-shirts but not a Pigsy one?
Funny is that we talked about how yesterday we did a live stream and we were talking about how we're just gonna be like who's behind the scenes and not show you guys, but then we forgot to turn it on, the volume.
Hi, welcome to our live stream. Let's do this all over again.
Okay. Hello, David.
What did we say? We had
Something
some
about
really
hair.
great material.
We're very quiet. Start again.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
We're very quiet. Let's raise the gain here. We can bring this mic
Hi,
a little bit
CGen
closer.
Game. Hello, everyone. Yes, Skybird. Where are our manners? Hello, everybody.
Can you hear me now?
What was that?
that was Luke.
That was what?
No, I was just playing around with voices. Hello. Are we good now?
Yeah, let us know if we're good. Like audio, morally, ethically, just
My
let
gosh,
us know.
that's a lot of check marks.
Yeah. Just like to keep it open.
Well, it is update time.
Is it?
Yes. And this is exciting.
Yes,
We haven't had-
it's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been a hot minute, but the team has been hard at work. You guys have seen a lot of patches over the last few months, weeks. They're pretty consistent, but this one was a bigger one, right? There's some special things about this one.
Yeah.
And hopefully some of the guys are going to come on and let you guys know more of the details of what they've been working on. But we're really excited to jump in and see what all the hoopla is about.
We're calling it the Under the Hood update,
Yes.
which will become clear as we go on. But for now, you know what we were saying before
What
when
were
we
you
were
saying?
muted? I was pointing out that on our live stream yesterday,
Yes.
you signed a legally binding document
I did.
stating that you would dye your hair
I did.
whatever color the community wants.
I'm trying to get a lawyer now because I'm trying to look for loopholes.
It's airtight. That contract was airtight.
Oh my gosh, it's just
Yeah, we're. I think Brian, Dr. Evil B,
Dr. Evil B.
will be joining us at some point. In fact, I'm just gonna message him right now. Get over here.
And also, in case you guys were wanting to talk to all of us about crazy things, we have a new Discord channel. It's open to the public. We'll pop in the link in a little bit. It's a really good place to just come and say hi, see what other people are up to, what they're building. We have a community showcase. It's a good place to share all of your builds and worlds. There it is. Oh. That's always kind of hard. Here, right
I'm gonna
there.
try and capture it.
Ding.
Oh. Wow, I need to practice that. off
If you've
camera.
ever, yeah. Wait, hold on. We have to just sit here before and make sure that we're like
Let's do
very
it for
Dragon
5
Ball
minutes.
Z.
For 5 minutes. Let's just get it perfect.
Yell at the screen. If you guys have ever seen the awesome things that we showcase on Instagram and Twitter, and you were like, "Hey, I want to be a part of that," you can always link us with the hashtag Creativerse or Creatigram, or you could just pop into the Discord and put all of your stuff there. So we will look at it.
Yeah, it's the new hotness. It's popping off. In fact, as I look at our general chat right now, people are just typing nonstop. They're all excited about the update that we're
Yes.
about to show you guys.
Yes. So why don't we pop in?
Okay, I will. Here, let's.
Oh my goodness. Do. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So we're just gonna, oh, by the way, in case you haven't noticed, I do have purple hair.
That doesn't count. But it's a good start. We are joining Tomorrowland.
And it is gonna be exciting to see the new screensavers that we have for the loading screens coming up shortly, right?
That's correct. So.
And why would we have new screensavers, David?
We would have new loading screens because we just had a contest.
Yes, we did. And you guys can check out all of the winners and everything on our Tumblr. And very shortly, you will see them loaded in game.
Now, right away, we have to call out this panda video because that's amazing.
It's just a couple of...
Who built that?
Blocking this. Oh, it was all the mods. So Jojo, Eagle, Julia, and Touland. We just had a little fun while we were waiting. Do you like it? Do you like pandas?
I like pandas.
Do you like the Blocky the Snowman audience here?
Yeah. It just occurred to me what that was. That's awesome.
And this one right here. Very special.
Yeah. He's essentially crying fire in a theater, in a crowded theater.
He is. And everyone is all here. Thank you so much for building this, you guys. This is very neat. And it's pretty smooth.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And look, I can do this.
Oh. Wait, you couldn't do that before?
Yeah, I couldn't.
Oh, okay.
This is wonderful.
You've mastered the art of strafing.
I have.
Okay.
Gliding, really.
It's funny you should mention the game looks smooth because that's actually what this update is all about. It is essentially a huge performance and optimization update. The team, and in fact, that's probably why it's taken us longer than usual because unlike just getting like a feature out there or some blocked content, this was about going into years worth of code and finding all the issues. Now, we didn't find them all. There's still going to be issues, but the performance is going to be a lot better. We also upgraded our game engine from the old Unity to 2018. So the result,
it's a good foundation.
It's a good foundation. I like the way you put that the other day.
It definitely means that like we're not gonna. It's not stopping the work, and we're not stopping. The progress that we're going to be making, but it's a good foundation for updating things and making sure that we're just tinkering out those bugs or any kind of lag. It's going to be a really good thing.
You're still going to notice that there's probably still going to be some performance issues, and we want to hear about those. In fact, if you want to join our Discord and tell us about those, let us know. Yeah. But in general, you should see better frame rates, less hitching. Just overall more smoothness, and if there are,
as we said,
as I'm speaking of it, nice little fat hitch. There's, like we said, there are still going to be things, areas that we need to fix. But now that we have like this major like engine upgrade, and this like, our producer was telling us just before this stream that we typically update around a couple hundred files for each new release. This release we updated around 23,000 files, and so it is essentially what you were saying. It's a foundation that we can start doing like faster and easier to do performance updates.
Yes, it's about optimization, which doesn't have a place where you can necessarily stop. The great thing about optimization is you can just keep going, and once we get those patch notes out, once the servers are back up, we want to hear what the community is experiencing. We actually did, the team decided to get two very like, what do they call them? These two PCs that were just, they were a bit funky.
Dumb and Dumber is the name of the PCs.
They went out and they found like the most min-spec PCs that they could find to test all of these things and to be able to see like what is the lowest, PC and that could handle these optimization updates, and what does it look like? What are the issues that we're seeing, and how can we make them better? so that is part of the reason that the team was quiet for a while, is this one took a lot of tinkering, a lot of elbow grease, and I think that the results are going to be pretty good, but that doesn't mean that there's not room for improvement.
Mhm.
And your feedback, the mods' feedback, our awesome MVP team, people just getting on the forums and saying, okay, but like this is the issue I have versus this side. That is all so helpful, and it's something that we really look forward to having with this release, as with any release, to make sure that everything is working properly, to see where we can do better, and to hear your feedback. We want to be able to hear you say, you know, there's a lot of pets here, but I have lower lag, and it's awesome. And that's really what this update is all about, very under the hood.
Yep, there's going to be certain things that might still impact perf, like maybe if you have a bunch of machines in a certain area or a bunch of lighting. I know Brian will be able to speak to that more if he does end up joining us, but like the types of blocks you have out there might impact that, and that's, you know, stuff we want to know about down the road.
Exactly. I also had a question for everyone. So to test this out and to have a little bit of fun, we're going to be building something from our featured blueprints. So if you're in the community, if you're in chat, go ahead and let me know, what should we build today? We have a couple of new things, and we're really making sure that this is updated because we have so many blueprints and they're really awesome. And we want to test some of them out.
Yeah.
Did you want to take a look?
Well, that's a lot of choices.
It is. Let's narrow it down.
How do we have people decide?
Let's see. We could do a swan park. That sounds really neat.
Condo, says Jay Carmichael. The Fuente Fior blueprint. Build a new biome, a new layer.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I don't know if we can do that today.
We may not have that much time, but let's go ahead and choose this one.
Now, while you're doing that, I did see a
Yes.
question, I can't remember from who on Twitch, asked if you can see further in this update.
Yes.
Specifically referring to the max view radius. And
That has
been
increased.
increased from, I believe it was 13 our max before, or was it 12?
I don't remember the exact number.
It was either 13 or 12. Now it is 16. So,
Wow, this is massive.
yep. To answer your question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you to whoever asked that. Well, looks like we're building a swan park.
I like it.
Let's get some.
Are we going to build it over
excavators
their
and-
little hut right there?
Yes, I guess
Okay.
so.
We'll just,
We've committed.
this is your world though, right?
This is my world. Yes.
So we can do whatever.
Yes. I will put this down here for everyone to get started. Da-da-da. Excellent.
Brian did say he's going to join us in a minute.
Okay.
That was 9 minutes ago.
Okay, so he's fashionably late.
Yep.
That's wonderful.
Well, I mean, this update, we were going to deploy it this morning at 10:30, and here it is, 12:46. So
Yes, it's a
time moves a
lunchtime
little
update.
differently here at Playful.
Yeah. Very much so. And in addition to those performance updates that we have, there's also a lot of cool things happening with very minor little bug fixes. So it used to be that when people had pets in one area, they would either get like clumped together or they would disappear when they were being told to stay. And that has been addressed in this release as well, which is something that I think will make a lot of people happy that their pets are returning to their home. And that really is thank you to everyone who was commenting about your pet issues. That really helped the team narrow it down, and we're excited to hear how that works for you.
Are there any other cool little bug tweaks? Because we have a lot of bug fixes.
We have a lot of bug
Do you
fixes.
want to call
yeah.
me out?
Let's see. Blocky the Snowman can now be put into a container. This is not a bug fix, but mud is now craftable with water and dirt, which is excellent.
I guess we should say there are a lot of bug fixes and little improvements.
Yes, yeah, and you can also pull water now with any gauntlet. which is really neat.
Mm-hmm.
The lava and corruption blocks can be pulled with a diamond gauntlet. So
Instead of a lumite?
instead of a lumite, yeah.
Okay.
So there's more accessibility where building is concerned, which is a lot of fun.
Very nice.
I need to get some blocks here. Where did I set it down? Was it this one? Yeah.
Somebody asked how we're streaming on both Twitch and YouTube. We use
Magic.
restream.io, aka Magic. Somebody else asked if our upgrading the engine was going to raise our min spec. I don't think so, because we did test on a very extremely min spec computer, and
Two of them, in fact.
two of them, like, and you. It was funny hearing Brian talk about the funny looks he got when he went to Best Buy and so like, give me the worst PC you can possibly sell me. But we tested it on that and
I can see how people would be suspicious of that.
yeah, ran fairly well on those. Yeah,
Excellent.
I would like your worst, least finest computer software, please.
That is awesome.
Give me the best of 2001 technology.
It's for a vintage collection. Don't worry. You should have used that line, I think. Oh, and gift boxes, that we were having issues with them rotating, and now they are. You can rotate them in any direction. You can go crazy. So that's something that's a tiny little fix as well. And your pets will get dirty after harvesting. And I hear somebody coming behind me. It is Dr. Evil Bee.
Yay!
Huzzah! How are you, sir? Are you making fun of my huzzahs?
Yeah,
That's all right. Nice.
that's what I do. Have we met?
Welcome to the stream.
Thanks,
Dr.
sorry.
Evil Bee.
Just needed to make sure that things were progressing, and they are.
We,
You have to
we
whip those
definitely
engineers
want
into
that.
shape?
No, they have to whip me into shape.
Oh.
Oh my god.
They are the stars. Just making some server changes for in preparation of the update, and then they'll do a deploy. Deploy will take a few minutes, and then they'll turn the servers back on.
That's very cool.
They will let me know.
Sweet.
How do you feel about this update?
Tired. Not as tired as Brent and Jeremy are, I'm sure.
Right.
They truly are heroes right now. But we just made a very concerted effort to squash as many bugs as we can, upgrade the engine, and really try and see if we can make a pretty decent impact in performance. I think you guys mentioned at the beginning, we're not going to hit everything.
Right.
You know, we're going to do this in stages. This was a pretty big foundational change for us. I mentioned on Discord, I think Brent had mentioned to me that this update has over 23,000 file changes because of the engine and all the things that we've done.
Compared to normally a couple
hundred, yeah. So took a lot more time testing this, especially with a lot of our some of our close-end testers and things like that. So we actually hired an outside QA firm to go and test this, just to make sure. We didn't want to keep release something and then go, oh, we missed 15 areas.
Right.
We're still going to miss some. We have a lot better monitoring of performance from this new engine that we can actually track if there are other things going wrong, like a lot of log tracking, and like if we see people get crashes, we'll be able to see those and actually get statistics from them. So this will be able to enable us to be a lot more proactive, which is a great place to be, as opposed to waiting for someone to report something to us and then
Right.
us have to scramble and try and find it. So.
And that was really important when you were speaking about the foundation, right? Of not wanting to get new releases out the way that we had to hit pause for a second, essentially, and make sure that those releases we're gonna have a place to build off of, instead of just, oh, we have to like take a few steps back.
Yeah, and I know, like, this isn't a content-heavy update like we traditionally do, or we will get back to those and some more exciting like, feature types of things. The best analogy I could use is we built a really great experience at the earlier stages. It was prototyped and then rapidly deployed. And then over time, because we weren't continuing to go and sort of build that foundation stronger and just adding features on top, the analogy I keep using is sort of like you built a house that the foundation can support maybe 1 or 2 stories, and we quickly built it up to like 7 stories.
Right.
And everyone's like, where's the 8th, 9th, and 10th story? It's like at some point in time, this thing's gonna fall over. So the idea of taking a break is coming back and reworking that a bit so that we can build faster and taller going forward. So this will not solve everyone's performance issues. This will solve and bring a majority of them to a much better state. We have another list of ideas that we're going to go after for some performance changes for the next release as well. So it'll build on this and get this better. Over the next few weeks, we'll slow down with some of the just heavy hitting performance issues and really start going back to features. We have a very long list of features that we want to get to and to really enhance the experience. So we're excited to get back to that.
So a couple questions from chat. Geek of Cake asked, will this be a very big download, like file size?
It's a good question.
Because of the number of file changes or the files that are normally already there.
I really don't know the size of the download. I didn't go take a look at that.
Okay. I don't know that you can necessarily
Jeremy's
assume.
listening. He might ping in.
Yeah,
Oh,
Jeremy.
yeah,
Jeremy Zweigart, one of our engineers, might chime in on chat. I think he's on Twitch chat.
Yeah.
Will this? Is this? Let's see. Darthos says so. This is not a CPU heavy update. Do we know how, like Unity 2018, does it let us do more with a GPU?
So that's part of it. It's not just the engine. There were stuff that we reworked on how we redo things, and the engine gave us some better capabilities. So it wasn't necessary that we upgrade the engine and boom, everything is faster. It was we upgrade the engine, something's broke. We went back and fixed them, and then it enabled us to better profile and really give us a bunch more tools that we can use that are more optimal and more performant. And then we had to rebuild some of those things that weren't working, that used to work before, weren't working because of the engine. We rebuilt them. And then we took a look through performance measures, what our heaviest hitters in performance were by going to a lot of players' worlds that had issues, that a lot of worlds that were really, really built out. So you might have seen us stalking around in there, like why are they just spinning around in circles and just flying around? Well, it was mainly because we were actually profiling those worlds to seeing what was taking up either CPU or GPU at the time. And we actually used those, and then we went and we found, and then we hit those areas to optimize. Like there were issues where if you dug down and you put a nice little ladder and you kept digging down, you would spawn a lot of mobs underground. Then when you go back up, you don't see the mobs. They were still there, and we were paying the cost of them running around with their animations and everything. So
That's a cool example.
yeah, so we were able to make a better solution for that, so that if you're not seeing them, they're not around, we're not paying the cost for that. So that was just one small example. There have been probably over 100 of those types of different things to bring this up. When we initially did this upgrade and we were all happy, this was a couple weeks ago, the reports were frame rate is actually worse. And so we actually went the opposite direction. And but then that allowed us to quickly find things and move forward. And that's why I rushed out to Best Buy to go buy 2 of the lowest end computers that they had, so that we have it constantly running on there, so that we're profiling not only our dev computers, which are fairly high spec, but also on a very, very basic with like integrated graphics cards. And in a lot of areas with those cards, on that computer, we were able to double frame rate.
Very cool.
So we're pretty excited.
Yeah, we were talking about that and how you got suspicious looks when you went to go buy the worst PCs you could find.
Yeah, if anyone wants to try a fun experiment, go into Best Buy, and when the computer salesman comes up and says, "What can I help you with?" I said, "Find me the crappiest computers that you have here." And he's like, "What?" He didn't really know how to handle that.
Yeah.
When I asked him about what video cards does it had in it, do these specific ones have in it that we had purchased, he started with, "Well, it's an integrated," and I said, "Okay, stop there, that's good enough." The best computers $300 could buy. But we figure if they can run fairly well on those, you know, at a
Then
more
it should
minimum
run.
spec, then, you know, we'll see even a better performance. And we learned a lot on how lower end cards versus higher end cards handle some of the rendering of these items and things that we didn't really think about before. Where
we learned a lot about that. We learned a lot about ourselves and each other and life.
okay, I don't know where you were. But
It is funny though that like you mentioned how we initially planned to update this, put this update out like 3 weeks ago, and we kept delaying it because you're right, we kept running into issues and had to track them down and kind of do that rebuilding.
Yeah, and you know, we could have put it in weeks ago and then just continue to do release and hotfix and release and hotfix.
Yeah.
We just decided that that's not the right strategy for this, and we didn't want to frustrate everybody with, okay, we'll get to that. Okay, you'll fix that, and we'll fix that one later. At some point in time, just hearing that your problem it's on the list, we'll fix it, it gets sort of old.
Yeah.
So the edict was, we're not going to release this until at least the bad areas are on par with what you saw, and then but at a high end, it's much better in a lot of areas. So that just took us a lot more time than we thought. If you think about an engine, the engine literally touches every single thing in our game. So there were things that we didn't think would break that just stopped working. And then we had to go and figure out why and fix those things.
Yeah.
So.
And then Unity announced 2019 a couple
They
days
did.
ago. So let's do it again.
Something to look
And there
forward to.
literally there was a moment where we were looking at each other like, should we? And then we were like, no, let's let's not start all over. We will be upgrading to that, but it's sort of like buying the first year of a car. You sort of want to
Right.
You want to give them time to
wait a
iron
little
out
bit
kinks.
and sort of see.
Yep.
Okay, well, what's the hot fix of 19, and then maybe we'll go to that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are looking at it. We actually already have our game being built on 19 to see what issues are there. But
Cool.
we are on the latest version before we can get to 19, so we're not that far away anymore. So they're smaller upgrades.
Oh, so when we would get to 2019, that would not take as long.
Hopefully,
Oh,
yeah,
hopefully.
it shouldn't
Okay.
anymore. We were a few versions off, and there were a lot of underlying systems that were fairly well reworked.
Right.
That caused us a delay, and it was just one of those costs that we pay for. We're moving so quick to just keep doing feature work, content, and we didn't take a minute, to continue to upgrade.
Yep.
And so we had to pay that cost now, but hopefully we'll be done soon and we can move on. And we already have a lot better options with post-processing, with a lot of ideas for integration and things in the future that we can work on. So
Yeah, speaking of post-processing graphics, hey, Barbara, do you want to
Yeah.
open up the
Sure.
the graphics, the settings? We could just take a look at. There's just a couple of small things, but I think the anti-aliasing
So
mode.
here's some new things here.
I think, what are the different anti-aliasing modes?
Yes. What does this mean?
So don't get me into the this would be an engineering conversation. Should go pull one of them over.
I noticed
they're different. They're the common types of anti-aliasing approaches that a lot of even newer games are implementing. They just have different ways of handling it. So I would say some of them are more performant than others.
Is it
But it
listed
really
in
depends.
order of performance?
It's not necessarily. It's more in it's more in line with effect.
Okay.
So I would just encourage people to play with it and pick the one that works best for you.
And then I think we mentioned earlier the view radius.
Mhm.
We should go ahead and blow that out to
Yeah.
16.
Yeah, that was fun because when we originally put that in, and then people were using the higher radius on testing. They're like, I see performance worse. And we're like, well, is it equal to what you just had on live, which was 13? And so now it's like, oh, we're trying to get performance, but we're increasing, so it actually increasing view, which actually made some things less performant. But the good news is with a lot of the stuff that we did with a lot of the optimizations,
For instance, the mobs that don't have
the mobs.
spawn
I mean,
all over the
that's a
place.
pretty big one actually.
Yeah.
I don't want to discredit that at all, saying that was just one of many, but that was one of the big ones.
Right.
There was whole different ways of how we're handling lighting, and there were some art issues that we had that had fairly high geometry when they didn't need to, that we found. So then there was a bunch of post-processing issues that we had. There's a whole list.
I remember one of them was the doors that were in the Ritzy Pigsy, and they kept on kind of like closing at different times compared to other doors. And if you remember,
when they were magically open.
Yeah, and there was the Shining, which is one of the ones that we looked at from
Yeah.
Sea and Sun. So she's not going to have that haunting effect anymore, but it definitely is going to be something that is going to make the other builds a lot better.
Yeah, I believe that
And
it
the curtains as
wasn't. It
well.
wasn't. If I remember, it wasn't that the door was actually opening or closing. It was that at a distance, it was what we call popping. It was like a level of display, and it wasn't rendering.
I
So
see.
it looked like it was opening. So
Yeah.
we'll go
It
with
was-
it was
it was
magic.
haunted.
We'll just say it was magically opening.
Yes, there was
and
a
we won't say
Creativerse
that there was an issue.
exorcism.
I mean, it worked for a build of the Shining.
That's
Now-
right.
It did.
Yeah.
We did that just for you, Sea and Sun.
Now you have to use machines.
One of the interesting effects is as things broke and people were testing them,
Right.
they're like, yeah, this is broken, but I don't know, I sort of like this better.
Yeah.
We had an issue with those light beams.
Mm-hmm.
They were, people were bouncing off of them. This was a very recent thing.
Yeah.
And so they were fixed. And now there's been a conversation of, yeah, but wouldn't it be cool to have a light jail where
Let's make it a feature.
It's like it should just be a feature now.
Yes.
It's never ending. There's a man who can explain anti-aliasing.
Sweet. Welcome. We have Jeremy Zweigart, who's been in chat and is now here in person.
He is
Yeah,
here.
it was getting painful to hear you guys talk tech stuff.
Thank you for being honest with us. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the
Is
page
the
just
blood
so.
coming out of your ear?
Uh,
Brain tumor.
Oh my god.
Switching a little bit.
So would you do the honors of illuminating this for us?
Which the anti-aliasing one?
Yes.
I
The
don't-
differences between them, how people can play around
I
with
honestly
them.
don't know the difference.
Okay, why don't you
I
tell
can
us
speak
this?
to other stuff.
Okay.
Tell us the most
What are you
egregious
comfortable
thing. What's the
Right.
most egregious thing we said that you need to correct?
That he said.
Yes.
Not Brian.
There are so many of it. I just wanted to lend some support to talk about some technical things. You started to talk about like the doors disappearing and stuff.
Yes.
We had various issues like that involved certain objects having different level of detail settings than other doors in that example.
Mm-hmm.
And we also did a lot of baking of geometry together, which should reduce draw calls. One of the things I wanted to speak to that we realized from these low-end machines, Brian had mentioned that when we got these low-end HP machines and we were seeing actually worse performance on the new build, even though the higher-end machines were seeing significant improvements. When we dug into that on the HP machines, we realized that these low-end computers are much more sensitive to triangle counts. And in some of our test cases, we were having scenes that were over a million visible triangles. And what we tracked that partially back to is that there was the new post processor and an updated highlighter were enabling depth buffer things that were causing basically the scene to be rendered twice, which normally only happens if you have shadows enabled. So that was kind of a regression on the fastest graphics setting.
Okay.
That these low-end machines and people with those low-end machines tend to run. So we had to go back and make sure that the depth buffer could stay enabled at the low spec settings to get those triangle counts down. And we have future plans to do some more chunk LOD to keep that down even further when you're far away, because the more we bake stuff together, for instance, if you have a big crop field, previously that would be a bunch of individual draw calls because it would be a bunch of individual objects, and that had a performance cost. Now we bake all that geometry together for fewer draw calls, but obviously the triangle count goes, I mean, technically it's the same try count, fewer draw calls, so in general it should be faster. But for lower end machines that are try count sensitive, it can adversely affect those. So if you're on a low end machine and you turn shadows off, you should, and I think some of the post processor effect, which includes blur, what's the other one? Anti-aliasing, bloom. Is there one other? I don't remember.
Occlusion?
Yeah,
bloom,
ambient
sunshine.
occlusion.
Ambient occlusion?
If you turn those off, it should cause the depth buffer not to be activated, which should essentially drop the draw calls of the scene in half, which should help those low-end machines. So we're definitely interested to see what the community reports back in terms of performance improvements. But so far we've gotten good feedback from our MVPers.
See, this is exactly what I just said.
It's close.
Yeah. I remember you talking all about all the triangles and the draw calls.
Yeah.
What was the most
That's what I
exciting
did.
part of this update for you? Like the thing that you were most excited
Today being done.
besides
No,
that?
actually working in a version of Unity that isn't like 5 years old. Because the old version of Unity just didn't have great tools for profiling, for looking at our memory usage. And now that we're on the new Unity, not only are those tools like drastically improved, which is going to improve our future ability to make more changes like this, but we have more advanced tools available to us to do things like improve chunk building in the future. And also, I think you guys mentioned a little bit, but the new Unity also does a lot better reporting up to a reporting service so that we can look at people's exceptions, and we can rely less on getting users to send in log dumps, because I'm not saying we can get rid of that entirely, because when there is an exception and it bubbles up to the service, we get a small piece of the latest lines on the log dump, like 50 lines or something, which hopefully in most cases will mean we don't have to bug you for a log. But you know, it should reduce that dependency quite a bit.
Someone had asked, and I said I didn't think so. This is a while back, but does this update change the min spec, or will the min spec for our game stay the same?
I don't think we changed it at all.
Okay.
We're not going to change the min spec off there. That being said, theoretically, you probably play with less than the min spec now with this release. But we sort of want to keep it there because we have plans to build after this.
Right.
So we'll always keep performance in mind. And if it's something that could affect performance, we'll try and make it an option.
Yeah.
So that people can toggle it on and off depending on what they have available to play on. I mean, eventually we'd love to get it to the point where you can play anywhere on anything. That's not going to happen for a while. So
Even though we bought the sort of the worst machines we could find,
there's still
users
not
running
bad.
worse.
Yeah.
True.
Because they bought it and they're on quite a bit older than what what the latest low end is that's for sale. So I think the min spec still reflects even a little further back in the past than what we bought. But the weak GPUs and CPUs on those machines were huge helps in helping us understand how the game behaves differently on different hardware. Because mid to high level hardware, they just laugh at these triangle counts because we're not a high detail game.
The hardware laughs.
Yes,
the
it
triangle.
literally laughs.
Okay.
If you
Okay,
listen
just
real
confirm.
closely. Yes.
You should hear these machines when we walk past them.
Yeah, they're just like cackling hyenas.
And then we realize it's just Randy.
Yeah, a million triangles is pretty, pretty not a lot for a pretty decent dedicated GPU. But some of these integrated cards start to feel it.
I was just thinking, have we ever thought about using squares instead of triangles?
Yeah, maybe.
This is what I add. See, out of the box.
Perspective.
This is why I
Into the
don't
box
know.
thinking.
Literally. That's how you produce, folks.
Hey, I got him to come over here by just making his head hurt. Whatever it takes.
Is that, the,
effective
is that the
strategy.
key to getting Jeremy on stream?
Yep.
Yeah.
Saying something.
Or if you
awful?
had brownies over.
Oh yeah,
Ah.
definitely brownies. None for you, Brian.
That's a good strategy. We'll have to keep that in mind. I have to ask, if you're over here, Jeremy, who's doing the update? Chris.
Brent and Chris are.
Okay.
I think Brent was working on the deploy.
We missed one here, guys.
Yeah, I think
We should be pretty close, I think.
we've gotten several. We get a regular question like every 5 minutes. How long is the update going to take? I
We're
think
in
we
the
said
patch notes.
this one won't be too long.
I can answer the way my mother would answer when I'd ask how long it's going to be till dinner.
How's that?
When it's ready.
It's so
No,
glad,
it should be fairly soon.
I'm so glad you added that.
Well, I mean, it's scars from my childhood.
And
It's
you're
cheaper than therapy.
inflicting them upon our community.
Share the burden.
Share the burden. Is there anything on here that we haven't called out yet that we would like to call out?
I don't know what necessarily what you talked about as far as the bug fixes, but when this is live, like please go through and take a look at that list because we did spend a lot of time not just on performance, but also on like what have been the top bugs that have been plaguing people that we've finally able to fix. And outside of just stuff that we broke because of the engine, we were up to almost 70 or so just bug fixes that were reported from the community. So some of them are very, very small, some of them not so much, but really encourage you guys to go take a look at that list and see if there's something that was really irritating that was bugging you when you were playing, if that's got fixed. If not, please reach out and send us that information on support and we'll log in and take a look at it. Because we've had a lot of users already do that, that's how we were able to fix a lot of those things.
Yeah, some of them, it might seem very minor, but it's really all to allowing for a better experience. So I know that there are some that were even like text-based, right? So we had like logical false positives with certain words like grass and things, and that's all fixed and resolved.
Grass Burger.
Can you?
No, I can't
I'm not
explain.
going there.
I'm not going there. Nice try though. And then there were times where people could not right, like on certain like European keyboards, like the @ sign in text in the game, and so that was taken care of. Like we mentioned earlier, issues with pets were addressed in this update. So I think there were a lot of like tiny little things that we discovered along the way when you guys were looking at upgrading to Unity and playing with Mr. Dumb and Dumber there.
And I think what's interesting is even if it does seem minor to you guys or on the outside looking in, there have been several of those where we've looked and it wasn't necessarily that was the problem. There was a larger problem that it was surfacing in a minor way that required us to go back and rework some things on a more of a core basis that
Definitely.
then populated out. So we need to hear those. So please send those on. We do go through them all. Promise. I guess everybody says, "Oh, we hear you," but we really do. We on Discord all the time.
Sometimes
Steam
by
forums
name.
all the time.
Yeah.
I was going to post Brian's cell phone number later.
555-1212.
He does enjoy dad jokes and memes, so go ahead and send those his way.
I have a spam blocker.
There's something we didn't mention in there.
Oh, yeah.
Changelog.
Oh, what?
We changed how prefs are stored, and this was driven by getting some feedback from users who share their computer with another household person, like their kids or their significant other or whatever. They would use different Steam accounts to play Creativerse, but their player prefs would get mixed up because the way we store them, we didn't identify them by their Steam users. So, user A would log into their Steam, they would play the game, they would track recipes, do whatever, visit worlds, and their recent world would get saved to the prefs. Player B would log into their Steam, even though they're an entirely separate Steam user, the game was still looking at the same pref name. So we refactored how prefs were stored, and we have some significant code that does migration, but it's possible that there are some of the fringe prefs that may be lost. All the core ones should be ported properly, like graphics settings and blur and field of view and chunk view radius, all that type of stuff. But there might be, like, for example, the hint system that pops up in the corner. I don't think we ported those. So you might notice that you start getting hints that you haven't seen in a while because either you've dismissed it in the past or finished them all or something like that. So if you're wondering why, that's why. And this should allow people who share their computer with multiple Steam accounts so that their pref data will be compartmentalized better.
There was a question,
Cool.
Jeremy, from Juggy Bear that asked if the lag load time will be cut down for worlds that have multiple builders on it at the same time. The answer to that is probably it depends. It depends on what they're doing, but I would say overall it should.
Yeah, I guess it depends on, load time is generally gated by how quickly your client can download the template data and then the deltas from the server. And we didn't do a lot to touch that. We plan to hit that very soon, actually, because that's another big chunk of work. But chunk build data, or chunk build time, is going to take quite a bit of focused effort, and we're hoping to get into that with next release or soon.
Mm-hmm. But the lag, if a lot of the lag was because someone's went to an area, dug down, spawned a bunch of mobs, etc., that should be cut down.
Yeah, I certain types of lag is kind of a broad category, colloquially. So it kind of depends on the area. Just having another person in an area shouldn't really produce any more lag, but if it's a super built up area, then that's a lot of changes from the template that they got to be downloaded and built into the chunk. So there should be some improvement there, but there's not anything focused other than are more efficient geometry generation that would affect that specifically. But certainly once it's built and rendering and stuff, the performance should be quite a bit better.
There was a, what is it? DeBarba? I can't read from
D.
here,
Barbara A.
but,
Doppelganger.
there you go.
You're typing and playing at the same time?
i5,
Yes.
8 gig of RAM, integrated card. That's close to what the computers that we're running that we bought from
Yeah.
Best Buy are. So yes, you should definitely see a performance. I will say one thing, and this is just from the tech geek side of my past. You shouldn't be defragmenting an SSD drive. It's not a good thing to do.
Yeah, you're going to eat your limited rights.
So it's just friendly tip from us to you. Don't
The test machine-
if you have an SSD, don't defragment them.
What are
Yep.
the test machines? Ryzen?
Yeah,
or
the
something?
AMD Ryzen,
I don't remember what the GPU is.
and the GPU is an integrated.
I mean, I think an i5 is already better than that, at least at the CPU level.
Mhm.
Uh,
So Synac 1439 asks, will this update impact overworlds at all?
I mean, you'll get the same performance benefits that come from us baking data together. So if you have big crops with a big wheat field, that's a good example of where draw calls go down quite a bit, and that should help. There's everything we did, none of it is world specific, I guess. So-
Right.
Or world version specific.
Cool.
You guys did a great job there.
Jeremy, there's a request to do your own Playful text stream. There you go. You and Brent all day.
Is this boring people to death?
Just talking. I think it's
I could
very
talk tech
interesting
all
to
day.
people.
I'll probably put everyone to sleep.
You do. I mean, you can.
Oh,
People legit do that though. Like,
Tier.
engineers will do
Yeah,
coding
they do.
streams.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
So are we gonna be expecting a stream from you anytime soon? Solo stream?
No, this
We're
update.
heartbroken now.
No, this update will not bring the mysterious bauble.
I'm sure there will be more tech stuff to talk next update, because we already have some of that in the works. But we shall see what makes it.
Do we have an update for how it's going?
We're sitting here.
Well, check your
It's
phone.
impossible for us to be connected in two places at one time.
You can actually. You can just
I
message
could
Randy
I could Slack Randy or
Or Brent.
Brent.
Probably
or
Brent.
Chris.
Oh, look at this.
It's in.
Ha!
So it's
I
not
win.
there yet. They're testing it.
So 15 minutes ago we were in whitelist, so that means we're approaching the end, but not there yet.
Yeah, that means the client has been activated on Steam, which
It's up here.
means your Steam client should already be probably downloading something. But whitelist means that only the developers can jump in a world, just so we can test and make sure there's not any big breakages before we take it out of whitelist, which opens it up to the public. So your Steam should be downloading already. If it's not, do the validate local files to force it to, and it should be any minute now.
I feel like we're on like a SpaceX launch. This is when the rocket booster is going to separate. Please wait 30 seconds.
But can we land it back again?
I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, here we go. There you are. We were building very chaotically, so now we're just trying to wrap it up. I like this blueprint. It's very nice.
It's pretty.
Yeah, you guys have
Peaceful.
done some
Look
good
at
work
that.
today.
It was basically all the. I was just going around like, hey, wood. It's very nice.
I noticed someone said that someone stole a bunch of stuff in the in-world chat. Was that you?
It might have been, but it is my world.
It is your world. That's true.
Oh, they need the
Someone
flowers.
says
I'm not
Barb's
gonna-
probably eating the
I'm
flowers.
not gonna give them back. Somebody tell me where they go. I can't find it.
Follow the yellow flowers.
No, it's not these.
You know how to fix.
What?
Yeah, there's already a couple fixes lined up for the hotfix.
Yeah, so that's actually probably a good thing to mention. You're probably going to see a bunch of hotfixes over the next week as we uncover some more issues that people are finding. So you will probably see at least a couple times, oh, new version to download, new version to download. That's just us trying to keep up with things that are found by the community and things that we found in testing.
And hotfixes generally aren't things that we have to bring the servers down.
Right.
They're just, we push a new Steam version, client side downloads it, and it's compatible with the same server. So it's, for the most part, transparent to the user, other than seeing it download something and maybe wondering why.
Looks like the update is 600 megabytes, so not super big.
I'll be right back.
All right. I was just about to ask you a question, Brian, but
I can answer it.
If
How
you-
hard is this show?
Yeah, ask him some production questions.
yeah, no, I've just noticed that, you know, as per usual in a stream like this, people are asking for all sorts of like cool features, like moving parts, different kinds of machines. We tend to kind of address this on a high level on update streams. Do we want to just talk about like high level next couple of months? What our plans are?
Hold?
What does the future hold?
Tell us.
No, I don't want to be transparent at all.
Okay.
Make it very secret.
That's
Okay.
So
Welcome, Randy.
really a lot of
Come get in the frame. You're right there. There you go.
this is getting weird.
We're so close.
Really, this is what I deal with.
We just need 2 more people, and that's the whole team.
we need to increase our field of view.
Yeah.
So
Nice. Good one.
we've been working on trying to think of the next sort of roadmap out of the 9,000 items that we have on the list. Our heads have been pretty down on performance lately to try and just really struggle through that, and everything else has been secondary, because the way that we've sort of been looking at it is like if people can't play the game, then the new features don't really matter. Plus, we were building and adding features on top of a lot of fairly rocky things. So we have been looking at sort of the next iteration of features. I think our next release is probably still going to be some more performance improvements. I'm assuming Jeremy talked about chunk loading and some things like that we still really want to work on that should have some pretty big payoffs. In addition to that, I think we're going to be taking a look at sort of player progression overall, quests and things, and actually on cue, that's actually a pretty perfect time for
Now you
Randy
can
to
take
talk
off.
about that, and I can go figure out where the other stuff is.
It's live, that's where it is.
Then I don't have to cut that.
Did you say it was live?
It is live.
Randy broke the news. The update is now live. So you can stop watching us, or you can play and watch at the same time.
If you like it, send me a private message. If you hate it, talk to them.
You smell nice, by the way.
Oh,
Don't-
that's so sweet.
This is weird.
Are you uncomfortable?
We need more comments like that on stream. Thank you, Randy.
Yeah.
Let's
Can't you all smell?
let's bring the vulnerability and the compliments.
That's what we're all about, right?
Yeah.
Regarding progression, like you were talking about, just taking a good hard look at how players are progressing through the game and actually making it feel like they are evolving as a player, evolving as a character, their world's evolving with them. Just all the things that will make them feel like they have gotten from A to B and want to get to C and can't wait until they get to M, L, O, B, but not necessarily in that order.
Wow.
I know my alphabet. Thank you very much.
Alphabet soup over here.
Sweet.
Yeah, and I think what's not being said in that also is that we are still working on some different content in parallel. We're going to try and add more player customization types of items, more fun types of things, in addition to blocks and those types of areas. We'll take a look at more building tools to make things even more efficient and easier. I know there was a mention on the chat stream about blueprints and templates and how they were very helpful. So we're going to take a look at that and see if there's a way to make that even more accessible and even better, and how we build so that we can build faster, more efficiently, and then maybe share those things more, opportunities to work and play with some of your friends easier. So all of these things are stuff we're trying to really balance as far as priority. It's one of those things where I would say they're all priority number one. So now it's just a matter of, okay, within one, which one is 1.1, 1.2? So,
We're over here.
Huzzah!
camera change.
Everyone huddle
let me
close.
take my position on Brian's shoulder.
Yeah, we've done a number
Personal
of,
space.
We've done a number of polls in the past year about what players want to see, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. And performance and bug fixes have fairly consistently been the top, if not very near the top, in all of them. And this release is kind of finally giving that its due.
Yeah, so we're excited to really see hopefully the impact that we're expecting to see. With a lot of the testing that we've done, we've seen a lot of very positive feedback more recently than when we made it slower, actually, but surprise.
Just for the low end.
And the update is actually live right now, so if you want to go in and just start testing it right now and chat back at us on stream. Just kidding, we're ending. Click. Oh, we'll be here for another minute.
Otherwise, you and I were going to start singing, apparently, because that's
yes,
what they
this
said.
I want to see.
Duet.
Oh.
Duet, yeah. Actually, I volunteer you, Brian.
I don't think the microphone can handle that.
Maybe next time then. But the update
it's
is
not
live.
high quality enough to capture your magical unicorn.
That is
Needs
exactly where I was
surround
going with
sound,
that.
all of that good
and
stuff.
You've captured that nicely.
Yes.
Super sweet.
Well, Hate Weaver says you should sing.
We've never heard me sing.
That's Eric Best, by the way.
Is it?
Oh, is it? Oh.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Then come over here, Eric.
Yeah, Eric, why don't you come join us?
What is it? Philo says, in-game now and everything feels really quick and less slaggy. Thanks.
Awesome.
2 exclamation points.
That's
what
actually
you
your
did.
nickname.
Let's
Slide.
quit while we're ahead.
All right, guys. Well, we hope you guys enjoy the update. Patch notes will be live shortly after this, and thank you for joining us. We will catch you guys next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
And we are going to raid Camp Creativerse, who
Huzzah!
are starting in about 6 minutes here. So goodbye and see you next time.
Bye-bye.